Hello, folks. Today's notes is going to be a little bit different. I'm at school. I got to be kind of quiet because the sophomores are taking the test. And I don't have a great mic. I just have this one. So we're just going to try to make it work. But I wanted to make a video today because the notes are important. Just as important as yesterday. And I want to make sure that for those of you that want an explanation of what you're looking at, that you have it. So here we go. Got to keep in mind, Unit 5 is all about global conflict. We are working towards World War I and World War II. But how did we get there? What's going on in the world to cause this much tension? And I like to equate war to like a boiling pot of water. Like if you grab a pot, put water in it, put it on the stove, cut the burner on. Is the boil instant? No. You'll be staring at that thing for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes before you see the first bubble. Just like that, that's how tension works in the world, and that's how war starts. It's not always immediate. It's not always fast. Sometimes it's a slow burn, right? Sometimes it takes tension a long time. That pressure needs to build up, and before you know it, just like that pot of water on the stove, it shoots through the top. War starts. So today we're going to be looking at how did China get imperialized just like Africa. Yesterday we looked at Africa. We looked at how all of these European nations, these white people nations like Spain, Italy, Germany, Portugal, Britain, Belgium, all these places are looking for other countries in the world that they can go and exploit resources from. Now, what do I mean when I say exploit resources? I just mean they go to Africa because Africa has a ton of raw materials in the ground. All these things that are valuable. Yesterday, we looked at how all these countries went into Africa and they all basically went, mine, just like those seagulls from Finding Nemo. And they were trying to claim their own stake, their own section of Africa. Today, we're going to be looking at how they did the exact same thing to China. The Chinese have always referred to themselves as the Middle Kingdom, halfway between heaven and earth. The Chinese have always treasured their own culture and traditions and have tried to keep outsiders at bay. Matter of fact, up to this point, they considered any outsider to be a barbarian. They even built a wall to protect themselves, right? Here's some of those pictures. However, China could not keep their goods secret for long because once the Silk Road, this massive interstate between Europe to Asia, once this Silk Road is laid down, we start seeing exotic goods being exchanged back and forth like crazy. So as a result, China became a very powerful, dominant country. People wanted Chinese goods, just like today. And eventually, China accepted trade throughout Asia and Europe, which is not something they wanted to do. They wanted to keep their culture, not share it, regardless of how much money. However, when China did business with you, it was like doing business with the mafia. You had to respect them. You had to show them respect, and you had to show them that you appreciated their culture. They didn't want people just exploiting them. But in 1644, something happened that would change China forever. China was invaded. They got a new dynasty. And what the new dynasty means, they got a new emperor. And this emperor was no longer interested in trading with anyone outside of China. He wanted to lock down Chinese goods inside of China. And the reason is for a couple different things. First of all, China had a massive population boom. It led to an increased number of peasants and an increased number of competition for land. People were trying to get their own plot of land in China, but the problem is you had too many people and not enough land. Also, at the same time, we see a population boom. We see a lot of white people show up in China. A lot of missionaries and merchants. Missionaries being people that want to spread the name of God, right? Merchants being people who are selling merchandise, right? They arrive in Asia with hopes of trading, but they have no idea that the emperor is not interested. Matter of fact, let's hear his own words. In 1793, he wrote a letter to the British King George III, who's the same king that the colonies declared independence from. And he said this, "Strange and costly objects do not interest me. As your ambassador can see for himself, we possess all things. I set no value on objects strange and have no use for your country's manufactures." He's saying, bro, I don't value your stuff. My products are way more valuable than yours. My culture is so valuable to me, you can't even put a number on it. So I'm going to keep my stuff secret. I'm going to lock down our stuff. You keep all your crap that way, and we'll never merge. The Chinese had little to no interest in trading with the West, and they were able to reject all these trade offers, right? They had a healthy agriculture. Their harvesting and farming was wonderful. They were producing materials that everyone wanted and materials that were valuable to themselves, things like porcelain, silk, cotton. So they didn't have to trade with anybody. They had enough people to keep business going and be self-sufficient. Other people who were not happy with this business deal were the British and the Europeans. They were hugely upset. They were desperate to get into China, and China would not let them. They kept shutting them out. For years, they had been buying Chinese merchandise and buying Chinese spices and foods, and they're addicted to it, and they don't want to let it go. So the British become desperate, and they start thinking, what could we sell them? What product could the Chinese possibly want so bad they would be willing to do business with us again? And they found one product. And in the 1800s, the British actually started smuggling illegally opium, which are painkillers. It's heroin. It's an illegal drug from India into China, sneaking it to Chinese people, getting them addicted to this product from Britain. By 1835, 12 million Chinese citizens were addicted to opium. Here's some pictures. But this is a savage move by the British. To get the Chinese addicted to drugs in order to do business with them is a savage move. As you can see here, here's a real picture of some of these opium fiends in China. This was a massive problem, folks. 12 million addicts. We're experiencing something like this in America with our opioid crisis, which is very similar to opium. Now we have them in pill form, but it's a massive problem. It's heavily addictive and very hard to kick. And just like in America, the Chinese started outlawing any opioid sales, and actually appointed people to try to end this smuggling of this product into their country. But the British refused to stop selling them drugs. And China had to declare war on them. They were like, you're getting our people addicted to drugs so that you can do business. That is crazy. Britain used its massive navy to easily win these wars, folks. They're called the Opium Wars. Put a star by that on your paper. The Opium Wars. It's this war where China tries to get Britain, these drug sellers, out of their country. But unfortunately, they don't have a navy like Britain. They even signed a treaty to help end these opium wars. Britain received the city of Hong Kong for themselves. But not only is it facing problems with other countries, they're also facing internal problems. By 1850, China's population grew so much that the farming could not keep up. And in 1853, it led to a rebellion. Obviously, the government is way more powerful than a bunch of peasants. So the government quickly ended these rebels in 1864. But the rebellion had killed, or at least weakened, over 20 million Chinese citizens. Think about that. 20 million Chinese citizens were either killed or affected somehow by this war. That's an insane number. So of course, you see all these European nations, they see this and they want to take advantage. It's like a lion who sees an injured gazelle in the field. They run after them, right? Trying to take advantage of their weakness. So you see Britain and other industrial powers swarm into China and start signing all these crazy trade agreements and all these treaties. By 1900, this place that used to be so secret, China, had been carved up, just like Africa, into a series of sections. We'll call them spheres of influence, right? Areas where a nation had influence. And in this case, you see here, the British, the French, the German, the Japanese, the Russian, all of these countries had influence inside of China. They owned their own section of China. Like those seagulls in Finding Nemo. They ran into China and went, mine, and planted a flag. And mine, and planted a flag. Now, if you look at this picture, this is a great picture. This is a political cartoon that's used to show you how the sectioning up of China went. And it reminds me of the political cartoon we looked at yesterday, where the German chancellor was cutting into the cake at the Berlin conference. Here we see all these nations cutting into China. But there's one country missing: America. Where are we? The division of China worried us. America's a brand new country by this point. We've only been around for maybe 100 years. And we start seeing all these countries going, mine, getting their section of China. And we're worried that we're going to miss out. So in 1899, the United States proposed something called an open door policy in China, so that every single nation could trade freely amongst themselves within the nation, and it wouldn't cause conflict or tension. This is great, right? All the countries get to do exactly what they want to do in China, and you don't have any fear from war, right? Except for the fact that Chinese people have no say-so in this, and their entire culture is getting pushed to the side, and their products are getting pushed to the side, and their country is basically being exploited from every single angle possible. The growth of foreign influence and poverty among peasants led to an uprising in many Chinese people. There was a frustration amongst the people that now their land had been sectioned off, given away to these European nations, and they basically had no say-so. Their products, their traditions, their culture, their way of life, everything in China had essentially went away. Just like that water pot on the stove, tensions led to a boil. And in 1900, put a star by this. This is very important. We see a Boxer Rebellion. The Boxer Rebellion is Chinese citizens' attempts to throw out those European nations that are now in their country. An army of 19,000 British, French, American, and German soldiers responded to this Boxer Rebellion. You would think that America would be on the side of this Boxer Rebellion, because it's essentially exactly what we had just done. We're sick and tired of a foreign country being in our country telling us what to do. So we went to war with them and we kicked them out. We rebelled. But that's not the case. We're backing up ourselves here. We're backing up our own interest, and we're not backing up China's. And it's a quick defeat, folks. These Chinese citizens cannot compete with some of the most powerful countries banding together against them. The power of foreign imperialists and the violence of the Boxer Rebellion led to a lot of reforms in China, changes in China. We see a lot of people in China looking to the West, places like Britain and Germany and America, and they want to kind of mimic what we're doing. They want to try to westernize China. So in 1911, we see Sun Yat-sen, who overthrew the dynasty and created China's first democracy. Put a star by that. Sun's goal was to promote nationalism, democracy, people running the country, not dynasties, not kings, and give economic security for everybody. Chinese people taking pride in their products, and really, like, this is the start of China becoming a powerhouse in the world. The way China had been ruled for 3,000 years is over, folks. No more dynasties. Just like that. So that about does it, folks. Hopefully it was not as spastic as it seems like it was. I'm sitting here trying to put all this together in headphones, and it seems like it was a little bit erratic. So hopefully it wasn't. Tomorrow we're going to look at World War I, and we're going to start looking at how the world becomes so tense and pressured. We've seen them splitting up Africa and splitting up China. We see the Africans and the Chinese people absolutely upset with all these European nations for coming there and doing to their country what they did. We see the European nations beefing amongst themselves. Everyone's getting jealous and greedy, right? Mine, mine. Everyone wants the other one's section or the other one's plot of land in these countries. Everyone's trying to come out on the better end of a business deal. Folks, the tensions are boiling. That pot of water, we're starting to see the water bubble up. It is getting hot, folks. Stay tuned. We're fixing to go to war. Peace.